But I want to talk about mortgages. And I just want to know what's happening, really. I want to know how the interest rate rises, how the fears of the banks, they're calling upon the Chancellor, Kwasi Kwarteng, to extend a mortgage guarantee scheme because there are fears that high interest rates could cut first-time buyers out of the housing market. But what I want to do is keep it really, really tight on this. So I'm looking in the first instance to talk to you if your life got turned upside down in the last fortnight. So whether you were looking to renew a mortgage you already had, and you were on, somewhere around the 1% mark, between 1% and 2%, and suddenly your new one is going to be 5 times that. I just want to know what it is all going to mean. I have enormous sympathy for you. You know I do. And there's nothing I can do to help, really. But I don't know that the rest of us have got a full picture of just how disruptive this is going to be. The Evening Standard got around to it, I think, yesterday or the day before, and they actually talked about sort of wrecking dreams. This is one of the things that I'm always conscious of on the programme, in the difference between a life story and a news story. And sometimes we all make the mistake, well, actually, that may not be true, but I definitely make the mistake of forgetting about the life stories that lie behind the news story. So we can talk in abstract terms about numbers, about percentages, about interest rates. But for the people who saw those interest rates go up at the worst imaginable time for them, this particular chapter of economic history is going to make very, very grim reading. And I want you to share it with us. So in other words, you were looking to renew or you were looking to get your first mortgage a month ago. You didn't sign on the dotted line. You didn't get it all cleared up. How disrupted has your life been? How much of a difference to your future has Kwasi Kwarteng's abominable mini-budget made? Hit the numbers now. You will get through. And whether or not you're now not moving house, whether or not you're staying in rent, whether or not you're going to be absolutely kebabbed, you don't know how you're going to... I just want to know all of it. 0345 6060 973 is the number you need. And I do want to hear about the numbers. You thought you were going to be paying X, but you're actually going to be paying X times 1,000. All of that, anything. And you may not be comfortable talking about it yet, so feel free to tell me about your kids. You thought that your daughter was going to be getting her first property, and now, well, she isn't, because this has been such a huge and utterly unpredicted impact. And that, we'll allow a moment of politics, that's when I get cross or upset, because they're so blasé about it all. They're so cash about it all, claiming that they got rid of the tax cut for the highest earners, people like me, because it was a distraction rather than because the head of the 1922 committee told Liz Truss she was never going to get it through the House of Commons. Kwasi Kwarteng trying to make light of it, going on a round of interviews after the disastrous mini-budget tanked the pound, telling everybody, most obviously the markets, that there was going to be more of the same on the way. And then lo and behold, the pound fell further. The IMF coming out and saying, this is not right, this is really dodge. And them refusing to change course. The Bank of England having to intervene to the tune of millions and millions of pounds just to steady the ship, just to get the pound back on an even keel. And yet they stood up in Birmingham and claimed they were definitely doing the right thing. Nobody agrees. Even the historian who Liz Truss cites as one of the key inspirations for her economic policies, has gone public with the fact that she doesn't understand his economic policies. He's described himself as being absolutely staggered at the stuff she said. So his mind has been blown by the idea that she could have read his book and come away with the ideas that she's come away with. I don't think we can stress that last point enough. This is an astonishing intervention by an American academic. Imagine if I came out and said to you, "Oh, I tell you what, that fella over there, Johnny Face, he is a brilliant economist, and I'm going to build my entire attitude to economics on this book that I've just read that he wrote." And then Johnny Face came on the line, said, "Who's that on line 2? Hello, James, it's Johnny Face here. I just want to say you've completely misunderstood my book. I'm glad you're only a radio presenter and not a politician or, God forbid, a prime minister or a president, because your understanding of what I actually wrote is beyond stupid. It has blown my mind how far from what I wrote you seem to have ended up." That's happened to our prime minister in the first month in office. at a time when the economic impact of the so-called mini-budget continues to reverberate around the nation. So there's a lot going on here, and that's why sometimes, perhaps, we step away or we lose sight of the finer detail, the life story behind the news story. And I just want to know what's happened to you. I want to know what sort of bombshell was dropped upon your property owning dreams or your property intentions or your lives, your futures, your idea of where the future would be by this announcement and by the continuing impact that it's had upon mortgage rates. Many banks have increased the interest rate stress tests they apply to see if borrowers can afford to repay a mortgage to about 8%. The government has conducted its own modelling of the effects of interest rate rises on the housing market and homeowners' abilities to service their mortgages in conjunction with lenders. The banks are meeting with the Chancellor in the hope of seeing some form of guarantee scheme put in place so that lenders won't be left up the Swanee when lending to first-time buyers who then struggle to make their payments. It's pretty grim, this stuff, I think, but I want the detail. I want the personal experiences. Listen, we all know that the plural of anecdote is not data, but these individual stories are all real, and they will all help us to paint a rather more accurate picture of what is really going on, while the Chancellor of the Exchequer and the Prime Minister continue to insist that everything is going swimmingly. That's the crux of it all. Everything's going brilliantly, they say, while you watch your dreams of moving house or even getting onto the property ladder either disappear over the horizon or circle the plug hole.